So I actually need to give some context to this year's worth of challenges. I have been working as a bookseller for over 3 years now. And when I started as a bookseller, I wanted to know as much as I could, as quickly as I could, about literally the entire bookstore that I worked in. So I challenged myself for genuinely 3 years. I challenged myself to do that, read as much as I can, as quickly as I can, branch out as much as I could. And in doing so, I have read I think it was just under or just over 500 books. And it's been amazing. And I found so many amazing authors. I'm a romance reader now, which I didn't think I would be. And I read a lot more manga than I thought I would. And it's just I've learned so much. I've read so much. I've met authors. I've read more authors than I thought. It's been amazing. That being said, trying to read as fast as I can, as quickly as I can to branch and expand my knowledge did lead to feelings of burning out. So not in 2024, but in 2023, I was feeling burnt out. I set myself so many challenges to read from this genre, read from that genre, read this theme, and all of this. All I wanted to do was just get rid of all my challenges. So in 2024, I did a couple of my basic challenges, like my reading goal, keeping up to date with my sequels, and then there was a focus on reading new releases. So 2024 was a big focus on trying to stay up to date with all the current books that are in publishing. So I coined this term a slow 2025, just because as I came up to it, there were loads of people posting about their hard 75s on TikTok and stuff. And I realized, how can I put that into a book idea, right? So this year, 2025, is going to be the year of reading slow. I feel like I have been running as fast as I can, and I just want to walk. I'm about to say when you get to the end of a marathon, as if I've run a fucking marathon. But when you've been running a marathon for so long and you see that the runners get past the finish line and it's that slow walk, I kind of want the year to represent that slow walk. I've been reading so much, so quickly. I was borderlining burning out, which is very weird because reading is a hobby. I mean, it is also my job, so it does come with that element. But ultimately, it started as a hobby before it was a job. So I just wanted to go back to my pre-bookseller roots. I wanted to finally read those books that I bought years ago that I knew I was gonna get to, but then kind of prioritized other things. And in doing so, just strip it back, slow myself down, take more time with my books as well. All of that kind of fun stuff. Just slow it down, strip it back. So that's what we're gonna do. The slow 2025. These are the goals specifically for a slow 2025. So the first goal I want to share with you is actually not a book goal. It's more of a life goal. I don't do resolutions. I've never been someone that does resolutions. I feel too much pressure. But I actually gave myself a resolution this year, and that was to be more creative. I am actually a very logical person. I love a good spreadsheet. I love a good plan, love structure. So I wanted to kind of branch out, be more creative. So this was one of the reasons why I started this YouTube channel. I recently purchased, and I'm going to complete and not give up halfway through, but I've made a book reading journal, a bullet journal for all of my reads. There is a TikToker who I will link down below with her name, or I'll write it on the screen, who is 100% the inspiration for this. Because if she sees this video, she's gonna be like, this lady stole my layout. And I did, because it looks so much fun. So this is not my idea. I took it from somebody else. But yeah, I just wanted to branch out, be more creative, start a YouTube channel, just start putting all of this energy that I have into creating something of some description. So that's my first goal. The first book-related goal, though, is the Goodreads Reading Challenge. So the Goodreads Reading Challenge is a reading challenge that I have done for years. Technically, I wouldn't even call it the Goodreads Reading Challenge because it's the same challenge I do on Fable. It's the same challenge I do on Storygraph. It's all of these. I just had Goodreads first, but it's my reading goal. So for years, I've been consistently going up. I think my first ever reading goal that I logged on Goodreads was 22 books. Last year, I did 100 and got 163. This year, knowing I'm going into a year where I want to spend more time, taking time with my books, reading books that are slower paced, going back to my roots, I decided I was going to lower the number. I probably will achieve it, because I am, in general, just a fast reader, and I take a lot of my time and my energy into reading. But because I've taken on a lot more different, YouTube and this, things will take up my time more. I want to play more video games. I think a lot of my other hobbies will take up more time. So I've lowered my goal. So my goal for 2025 is to read 75 books. I don't really think that's achievable. I honestly think I could probably reach 100, but I want my goal to be 75 because I want to make sure I slow myself down. So then we go into the 2 challenges that I've also kept up recently over the last couple of years, which is my sequels challenge and my physical TBR challenge. So starting off first, we have the sequels challenge. So the sequels challenge is a challenge that I did because I was heavily inspired. I think I've mentioned this before, but I've been heavily inspired to make sure I maintain the series that I'm reading. When I was younger, I was reading the Heroes of Olympus series by Frieren, and I got to House of Hades. No, not House of Hades. I got to Mark of Athena. Annabeth and Percy fall off the cliff into the underworld, and then I never read House of Hades. What was I doing? It has inspired me to actually keep up to date with the books that I'm reading and the series that I'm reading. So I always challenge myself to read a sequel a month. So nothing changes for 2025. In 2025, I would like to read 12 sequels from all of my ongoing series. So last year, I actually read 25 sequels, even though my goal was 12. Again, it's definitely one or more of a ballpark. I know I'm gonna pass it, but I like to use that challenge to keep me up to date, keep me on it with my series, and yeah. And I think that'll be easy done. Also, a lot of my series are manga, so I think that's easily going to be done. And then we have the physical TBR challenge. The physical TBR challenge is only really been within the last 3-4 years. And I have been reading and logging books since 2015. So yeah, this is more of a recent challenge. So I have a good sized TBR at this point. It is not a lie, it's not a joke to say, but I own a lot of books. You're due a bookshelf tour, and then you'll completely understand. But what I wanted to do was, again, make sure I was actually consciously reading from the books that I own and not get caught up in the whole, oh my God, it's new, fresh and shiny. Like, stick with also what you own. So this year I've decided to read 40 books from my physical TBR, which I do think can be done. I read 66 last year from my physical TBR, which is amazing. At one point, I can't remember what year it was, but I set myself the goal of 30 and I read 28. And then I set myself 30 and reached it. 2024, I set my goal of 50 and obviously smashed it to 66. But this year, again, because I'm taking my time more with books, I'm slowing down and I'm branching out to other hobbies, I have reduced it to 40. I still think 40 can be done. 100%, but that is the goal. So very easy challenges for this year. 75 books, 12 sequels, 40 from the TBR. Very, very easy, focusing on slowing down. But I wanted to talk to you specifically about what I would be focusing on this year. So I actually have a rule, which is why I brought my TBR in and not done a separate video, because I want to tackle how I do my TBRs. So in 2024, I spent a lot of time reading new releases, which has been an absolute amazing privilege. I've loved all the new releases I've read, and I'm still going to do that. Like, there's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. I am still going to be reading new releases, but I want to emphasize the backlist of books that I own a lot more. I want to go back to my roots. And my roots, which I've mentioned loads but haven't explained, is that before I became a bookseller, I was reading epic fantasy, murder mystery, and that was really it. That was really, really it. And I was looking at my shelves and I looked at all these epic fantasy books and I was like, wow, you guys are all 500 plus pages, and I've been avoiding you because I've been of trying to read as much and as quickly as I can. So I would prioritize the 350 page books over the 500 page books. And I was reading things like Harry the Ninth in 2024 and Babylonia, which isn't fantasy, but it is very big book. And all of these complicated fantasy and sci-fis and these very chunky fantasy and sci-fis. And I was like, oh my God, why have I not been reading these? And I was realizing, because I was trying to expand as much as I could. So I wasn't spending solid time with these chunky books anymore. So I was like, I need to just go back to my roots and read those books that got me to where I am now. So there are 3 genres that I want to focus on in 2025. That is epic fantasies, murder mysteries with an emphasis on classic murder mysteries, because I used to read classic murder mysteries all the time. And then, because I do believe in New Year, New You, I do want to put a lot more effort into reading non-fiction this year. So epic fantasy, murder mysteries, non-fiction. Non-fiction is a new thing. Non-fiction is probably the main area that I haven't properly branched out into, that I really want to do so. And these all have things in common, like epic fantasies will take you a long time. Murder mysteries, if they're classic murder mysteries, the language will take me longer to read. Non-fiction, 9 times out of 10 is slower paced than novels. These will all require me to put my brain into gear and take my time with them. So when I was thinking these are the books I want to focus on, I knew I had to slow everything down, reduce the challenges. And I'm so excited to read it. And this TBR kind of reflects that. My goal with my TBRs is to do one new release of my choice, though I've already failed at that, and you'll see why. One epic fantasy, one murder mystery, one non-fiction, and then like a little miscellaneous one. And then also a manga, because I'm a manga reader and I can't deny my manga girls. I love them. But this is a very, like a couple of years ago, if I'd filmed this, I would have been going, and then in February, we're going to do the theme of romance. And then in March, we're going to do that, which is so much fun and worth my time. And I've read so many amazing books, but I am very excited to just chill the fuck out and not put too much pressure on myself to read as quickly as I can. And I'm excited for all the books that are in store. It's going to be good. Let's jump into my TBR for January. So here it is, my first TBR for 2025. This is so bloody exciting. I love... Jesus. Even the books are excited to be talked about. But let's go into this. So starting off first with my manga pick of the year. So we're starting off with Frieren Volume 6. This is Frieren Beyond Journey's End. This manga, like I'm not going to spend too much time going into it, but this manga is like, it should be your must-read manga series for 2025. I think I read somewhere that there was a One Piece short film or something that came out that was like the most watched thing. And One Piece is massive and it's been around for ages. And then the second most watched anime that in 2024 was the first season of Frieren. And like, I'm glad, it's so good. So to cut it really, 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 really quickly, because I want to, not bore you to tears with what I'm reading. But Frieren Beyond Journey's End follows Frieren, who is an elf mage who joins a group of a priest, a warrior, and a hero. He's not a hero yet, but he becomes a hero, to bring down the Demon King. And at the very beginning of the volume, they bring down that Demon King, and Frieren's like, thanks guys, that's been great. What a great 10 years we spent together. I'll see you in 50. I'm going to go around and live my life. And the rest of her group, which consists of a dwarf and 2 humans, are like, oh, you're probably not going to see us because it's 50 years. 50 years is a long time. And she's like, 50 years is like no time at all. And she goes. And 50 years later, she turns up and the hero Himmel, who is not here because he's not on the front cover. Is he on this one? No. He's dead or he's dying. And it really makes her put into perspective her life, her friends, what humans' lives are compared to elves. And really, it's a very reflective tale about what it means to be human, what it means to experience life. It's just so good. It's incredibly funny. It's got a really beautiful plot, but it's just about Frieren's journey to understanding humanity, to understanding her relationships with people, to understand what it means to be here for a finite amount of time as a being who lives not forever, but it feels like to some people she lives forever. And it really makes her reevaluate the relationships in her life, even from before she met her original party. So really, really good. Volume 6 was the volume that I was supposed to read in 2024, and then I decided just to do a Frieren reread over the year. So we are actually going to read Frieren Volume 6 this month. We have my current read of 2025. So I'm currently reading City of Last Chances. This is for my book group. So this is the first sci-fi fantasy book group pick for the year. I am about 30% of the way through. I'm 166 pages in, and it is a 500-page book. It's by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and it's basically just about a revolution that sparks in this city. The city of Ilmar, also known as City of Last Chances, has been occupied for a couple of years now, and the kingdom that is occupying them has been oppressing the people of Ilmar. And Ilmar is made up not just only of oppressed Ilmari, but oppressed Ayor, oppressed Marek people, all of this. And they're all congregating in this one city of Ilmar. And it's all about the revolution that sparks. And what makes this book really quite interesting is each chapter is told from a different person's point of view. So you're watching the revolution spark from all these different points, and you do feel like you're at the cusp of something very important happening. So yes, I do like the structure of every character is different and every person is different, and it makes you have a really great feeling for the city and for the kingdom of Ilmar. So yes, I am enjoying this. It's very, very good. It's a bit slow paced, which, I'm getting into the mind frame that slow paced books are good. and you don't just DNF books if they're slow paced, because my attention span is small. There we go. But yeah, so that's what we got. Then we have another book that I'm actually currently reading. I say currently reading, I literally finished this morning. Literally finished this morning. This is Dreamgirl Drama by Tessa Bailey, which is out on February 25th. Again, I will mention, as I always do, in the description below, any books that were sent to me by the publishers, as this is one of them. I have been a Tessa Bailey reader for years. If you saw my top 20 books, her book Fangirl Down made it to my top 20 list. I love a good Tessa Bailey romance. This one is the third, and I think maybe final, though she did hint to potentially something. But this is the third book in the Big Shot series, which is her sports romance. This romance focuses on hockey, and it focuses on two characters that you meet in the second book, the Au Pair Affair, Chloe and Sig, and it is their turbulent and forbidden romance. I will let you read up the blurb for yourselves. It's definitely interesting. I actually finished this morning, and I enjoyed it. There were definitely some things in it that I was a bit like, okay. And there's definitely some structural things that I had, but overall I just enjoy Tessa Bailey romances. And when it's a romance, you know there's going to be a happily ever after at the end. So I kind of went into this thinking, it's all going to work out, which is always fun to know that it is. There were maybe some structural things that I didn't love, but overall it was an enjoyable book. So this is actually not a TBR, this is a wrap up for this book. So this is actually my first book read in 2025, which is crazy to be saying that. So then we have The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. Now, I really need to start giving you shorter synopses. So I'm going to try and keep this as short as I can. But this is a World War II. I'm pretty sure it's World War II. I don't want to say World War II if it's World War I, because that would be rude, you know? Oh, it's World War I. See, this is why we do it. It's World War I. I lied to you. Supernatural fantasy book about a war nurse who goes out to the trenches during World War I in search of her brother. It's heavily inspired by all the folklores and folk tales and the ghost stories that came from the trenches during World War I. That was one of the big inspirations for this book. And that is all I know going in. I'm trying to do a little bit more of not knowing every single thing that happens when I go into a book. So yeah, World War I nurse who goes to the trenches in search of her brother. Ghosts turn up, and I love a good Catherine Arden book. She is the author of the Winter Night trilogy, which is The Bear and the Nightingale, The Girl in the Tower, and The Winter of the Witch, which is a really good, like, semi-historical Russian folklore fantasy book. So good if you love historical fantasy. I would highly recommend that series. So I'm really excited to crack on and read another one of hers. I haven't read a book of hers in ages. Is that because she hasn't written any, or is that because... I don't know. That's because this is her fourth book. It's the first, yeah. It's because she's only ever written the Winter Night trilogy, so that would make a lot of sense. Then we continue on with my Hunger Games read through. So last year, originally my goal was to read all the Hunger Games books before the Ballad movie came out, and then I didn't do it. And then my goal was to read all the Hunger Games books in 2024. Didn't do it. I only read Hunger Games in March of 2024. And then they announced Sunrise on the Reaping, which comes out March this year. And I thought, I should probably get on and read those books. So March I read The Hunger Games. In November I read Catching Fire. I'm reading Mockingjay in January. I'm going to read Ballad in February. And then I'll be ready for March to read Sunrise on the Reaping. So we're just continuing on with Mockingjay for this month. And I don't really feel like I need to explain what Mockingjay is. We all know what Mockingjay is. It's actually the end of the Hunger Games trilogy. So would I count that as the end of one series? Or would I only count that when I read Ballad and Sunrise as well? So moving on to my murder mystery pick of the year, and that is The Little Sparrow Murders by Seishi Yokomizo. He is the author of the Detective Kusukai Kindaichi series, which I have been reading since the first one came out. Like, I've been following this series since the first book was translated and out. This is his 6th translated book into English, I think. They're not translated in publication order, that one I know. But it's definitely the 6th one that they've translated. It must be right. I don't know. But this, it follows our detective who goes to an island just for a break. Just for a break. Give him a break, okay? Give this man a break. And he ends up returning to this island. I'm pretty sure it's an island. No, it's a mountain retreat. I've lied to you. It's a mountain retreat. And he turns up to this mountain retreat wanting to have a chill break after solving all these murders. And he finds that there's a decade-long mystery yet to be solved. And not only is that case haunting the residents of this mountain retreat, more people start dying to the theme of a children's song. And I love a gimmick. I love it. I love a little gimmick. I love when you throw a rhyme in there. I love a rhyme. Anyway, so it was kind of giving me And Then There Were None vibes purely for the rhyme alone. But yeah, I just really like this series. It's so good. It did dip a little bit because I loved the Hunjin murders. Then I read the next two and they were like, eh. And then I read 4 and 5, and 5 was really, really good. So I have a lot of faith that book 6 is going to be just as good. I love this series. This series is amazing. I love Japanese translated crime books. And then my non-fiction pick for the month is The Abandoners by Begona Gomez Erzais. And this is all about how, as a society, we treat women who are not good mothers or women who abandon their children. It is kind of seen in society that we're kind of used to men abandoning their wives and men abandoning women that they got pregnant. It's kind of something that's prevalent in our society, in our Western society at least, that, you know, we're kind of used to it. It's like, oh, how disappointing and how devastating for the mother, but like, it's not the first time we've seen it. But then if a woman does the same thing, everybody's up in arms. And the author here is trying to dive into why that is and looking at mothers, like notable cases, notable mothers in like Hollywood and society that are known for not being good mums and for abandoning their children, and how we look at the way we treat women in that situation compared to how we treat men. Became fixated on artistic women who were able to overcome both society's judgment and their own maternal instincts in order to leave their children. More than anything, she was fascinated by her own prejudice towards these women, so clearly tied up in a much wider cultural bias. Using famous examples, including Doris Lessing, fictional ones such as Anna Karenina, and interrogating modern trends like mumfluencers, Begona reveals what our judgment of these women tells us about judgment of all women. So it's not being like, if men can do it, women should be able to as well, but it's kind of looking at motherhood as a whole, and how is it that, you know, men leave and women abandon, and how is it that we're at this point. So I'm really intrigued to get into this book. As I said, I want to start diving more into non-fiction and expanding my brain and knowledge. So then we're going to go on to my new releases, which I just realised Dreamgirl Drama counts as one. I always read my new releases the month before they come out. I like to be able to not necessarily get ahead, but I'm not very good. I like being able to have read it before it comes out, just so then I can kind of be ahead, but more of the point is that I feel that if I read it in the month, I'll feel overwhelmed in the pressure to read it in the month. It doesn't make any sense. So then I just got used to reading them the month before they come out. So this is actually a February release. And all I could tell you about this book is that it is set during the Industrial Revolution. I don't think I've really consciously read a book knowing that it's set during the Industrial Revolution. And it follows our main character who is in I don't know whether it's in a marriage that's sour. The marriage is not going well. She's not been able to produce a single child, let alone a son. And her husband moved from London to the Peak District during the height of the Industrial Revolution. And it's there that she meets a very mysterious woman called Carmilla. Dun, dun, dun. She's a vampire. And, you know, it's their sapphic love, I'm guessing. Honestly, all I know is it's Carmilla, it's sapphic, and it's set during the Industrial Revolution. That's kind of all I need to know going into it. 2025 might be the year of the vampire for me personally. I think it might be. But anyway, I've not read any Kat Dunn books. I'm incredibly excited for this. I love a good historical sapphic book. I don't know. I mean, the minute you add it into a historical setting, it's a lot more appealing than contemporary. But I think that about most romances. I like a good historical element. The whole camera just cut out my whole explanation of this book. I don't know what's going on. But my next book and my final book for January 2025 is Blackwood's Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivy. It's about a woman who meets a man in Alaska, and she moves her and her daughter, because she's a single mother, to the mountains to live with him. And I think he's a bear man. Because I can see a bear on the cover and the shadow of a man, I think he's a bear man. And she falls in love with the bear man. And I guess hopefully they live a happy, lovely life. And maybe she has to protect him because the locals want to hunt him because he's a bear. I don't know. But it's a reimagining of Beauty and the Beast with a single mother who falls in love with a bear man. A man who can turn into a bear. Or a bear who can turn into a man. Maybe that's the point. Is he more a man or more a bear? We won't know. But that is my last book of 2025. I'm so excited. I can't wait to get stuck into this. This one in particular looks like the perfect January read. I cannot wait to get into this. I think this is so incredibly exciting. That is my January TBR. We are just started. We're getting started with 2025 reading. But yes, if you want to follow along on my journey of my slow 2025 and what I'm reading, please subscribe. Follow me on social media. I'm India Reads a Lot on loads of social media. So just follow me there. And I will update you on everything. This is also the kind of the proper beginning of my little stint on YouTube, and hopefully it works out. That'd be kind of embarrassing if it didn't. But I aim to post weekly vlogs as well as book videos, the weekly vlogs with a focus on updating on what I'm reading and things like that. Yeah, oh my god, so exciting. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have an amazing 2025 and hope you find those books that you love